On this week's show, how to choose a business that is in demand.
Welcome to the Entrepreneur's Blueprint podcast. We're here every Monday at 12 midday. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an upload. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and you can watch us on YouTube.
Hello and welcome to the Entrepreneur's Blueprint podcast. My name is Russell Leeds, and I'm joined this week by a good friend of mine called Tony Crook. So, Tony, absolute pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you very much, Russell. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, no problem at all. So do you want to give us, Tony, a little bit of the background, what you're doing with us now in our business, your background as a business coach, and also, you know, where you've come from?
Okay, so I'm Tony Crook, and I'm what's called a commercial manager at Russell Leeds. So I look after the office, the day-to-day running of the customer experience. So basically, from the time that the customer signs up for any one of the Russell Leeds advanced trainings or even the membership through Russell 365, they become part of the community. So I look after that customer experience right through to any advanced training, to the academy, right to when they exit and leave the academy, and even into what we're going to be discussing in future, the legacy of Russell Leeds. So basically, the customer experience is what I'm sort of looking after: the sales team, the customer service team, the customer care team. My life in business started when I first came to the United Kingdom back in 1984, and I started as a businessman selling photocopiers. I then owned my own print shop, and I owned my own printing company for 30 years. Ups and downs, made some big mistakes, and made some good decisions as well, but came out of it with a printing industry which changed its market completely from when I first started in print to where it came out now. It's now more of a commodity, and something which is more online for big companies with big pockets. So I'm exited out of printing and more into business consultancy. And I first met with Russell Leeds doing accountability coaching for its academy members.
Yeah, because obviously when we met you, I mean, you'd finished your printing, but it was a big company, wasn't it? Like multi-million pound company. And with how many staff did you have back then?
So we had 80 employees, and we turned over about £7.5 million turnover per year.
Yeah. So it was a big company. So you got a lot of experience with working with staff and growing companies. It's interesting as well that you say that the printing industry went online, which is one of the reasons that you pulled out, because that is kind of what I want to talk about on this show, because we're going through the 5-step guide of how to choose a business that works. And we've done last week, we looked at a business that you could replicate. This week, we're looking at a business that's in demand. It's really important that you've got a product or a service that's in demand that people actually want. And that's how relevant is that right now? Because right now, there are lots of businesses that they're not in demand, due to the coronavirus and the situation. And they're finding, even our business. I mean, we run an events business, and our product is people coming to events. Now, right now, that's not in demand at all. So it's a case of like thinking outside the box and thinking, okay, what can we do? What can we do to create a product that is in demand in these times? And obviously, you had the same situation with the printing industry. It went online for you. Is there a reason why you decided to come out of printing rather than staying in printing and just taking it online?
Basically, the way the printing industry became is very automated. So where traditional printing changed dramatically in the short space of time that I was in it, from where we used to have to make metal plates, not to bore anybody, but we used to make metal plates, had to transfer the image onto the plates using a photographic method. That then became digital. The advent of the Apple Macintosh and computerized typesetting changed the industry completely. People started not treating the industry more as a craft it used to be. So it became, as I said, more of ink on paper and getting it out there. But it was very much of a service-orientated business where people skills were needed to dealing with customers. Where as technology grew, it became that they're out wanting to get rid of the human being and being more in charge with automation and computer, the less touches that a human being had on it. So it became an industry where you didn't speak to the customer. People ordered online, things got shipped online. You never saw a human being in the process. So deep pockets, big equipment, the capital expenditures on some of these presses. The last press I bought cost me in excess of £2 million. That was superseded in technology within 6 months to a year after buying it. So you can see.
So you bought a piece of equipment for £2 million, and then it was just replaced by a normal computer, basically.
Well, not necessarily a normal computer, but it was replaced by a model that could do things faster, quicker, and it was all about speed. So speed is what it is. So, if you're doing, I mean, just to illustrate, 1,000 letterheads, 4-color letterheads, when 30 years ago would have cost about £300, £400 in money 30 years ago. Well, today you can buy 1,000 letterheads for about £35. So, you can see how the money's just dropped out of the whole industry.
Yeah.
And you have to do something very quickly, fast. So when you buy something for £2 million, this piece of equipment that will produce, 20,000 impressions an hour in a 2-minute, 2.5-minute make-ready speed, is then replaced by equipment that can produce the same job in half the space of time. You then need to buy a new piece of equipment to keep up with that market demand.
Is it much cheaper to get involved in printing? Is part of the problem the competition? Suddenly, like, because if you've got a piece of equipment that costs £2 million, you've got to buy in order to be able to deliver the service. It's quite a high barrier to entry. You're ruling out most people couldn't get involved with that. Whereas, like now, I imagine to become a printer, it's pretty easy to get involved. I might be wrong. I mean, I don't know much about the industry, but is that accurate?
No, it's the opposite. You do need the deep pockets to get into the industry. So yes, you need massive firepower behind you, and you need to be filling the presses up all the time to make profit. Because really, the big boys are working on 3% margins, gross profit margins. So you are really looking at stack it high, sell them cheap philosophy. So you do have to have the big warehouses, the big factories to compete. The little printer around the corner has died a death. They can't compete because they can't buy the paper in bulk to get the cheaper prices. The equipment won't produce it as quick as it can, so the labor costs involved in producing that job. So really, it's cut out the small man, and it's now even. We're even buying on some websites. You go online, we'll be buying print from Europe, and it'll be shipped over into the UK cheaper than we can produce it here.
Okay, so in which case then you better, if I was looking at setting up a print business now, I'd be forgetting printing it myself. I would just be taking the orders, passing them on to someone else, printing it, and just being the middleman.
Yeah, so that's what was been happening for the last 10 years or so. What we call print brokers, so people with in-betweens that will buy and sell. Excuse me. But what's happened is that the margins are so small now that you can't even make money doing that. Excuse me.
So basically, it's just a crap industry.
Unfortunately, it is one I wouldn't recommend going to.
Okay. Cool. So lessons then for people right now. I mean, we talk a little about what we're doing with our company and how we're taking it online, basically, because we've had our whole demand has completely disappeared immediately. So we've got to be looking at other options and how. I mean, people still want the information, but we just got to deliver it in a completely different way. So what we've done is we've launched, which obviously you've been heavily a part of as well. One of the reasons I got you on the show this week is we've launched an online membership site, which is basically replacing our crash course. Would you kind of agree? So we used to have an event called the Property Investors Crash Course, which was a 2-day event, which was free. We give loads and loads of value, all the foundations on how you become a property investor. And then at that event, we would tell people about the more advanced training that we did. So what we've done is we've put it all online. So we've put one of our advanced training, which is the Deal Selling Masterclass, online. We've filmed the whole thing. Samuel is obviously the face of it. It's filmed it all to camera. It's a whole course broken down, turned into a 4-week course, which you can buy for £995, and that's replaced that. And then our crash course has been replaced by a membership site, which has got loads and loads of free content on there and mentoring calls and all sorts of cool stuff. But we've had to turn that around pretty quickly. So what advice would you give to someone who's got a business right now where they've income stream has gone? How do they create a product quickly that becomes in demand?
So first of all, you have to step back from whatever business you're doing with, and actually see it from not a state of fear, but of a state of strategy, and thinking about. What yourself and Samuel have done, were very, very quickly adapted and were creative. Obviously, it's having that ability to see your business as it is and see how things have come into to change the landscape of that business, and to be able to adapt it. So what you two saw, is we can't do a live course. So what are we going to do? We have to go deliver these courses in some other ways, and with technology, you can do that online. So it's being creative in your thinking. Every business is going to be different how they create and morph into something which is now adapting to the circumstances around you. So
yeah, because like one of my it'd be interesting to see, one of my old business partner runs a children's entertainment company. What would you do with that? I mean, you've got people aren't holding parties. I was speaking to him. I was like, man, that's hard, isn't it? The only thing I could think of, I was like, look, man, you've got a big pile of you've got a massive database of parents and who've obviously got a lot of children. I was like, try and think about, what do they want right now? What's their situation? Well, the first situation is they're all probably off having to look after their kids. They need to find stuff for them to do. I was like, could you not? Because he does magic, and I was like, could you not put together an online magic course, do it over Zoom for kids age, say, I don't know, 6 to 10, and you can sort of say, we're going to do magic lessons. It's £5 a week to join. But then you could have you could do a Zoom call. You could have 100, you could have 200 kids at a time if you marketed it well. Because he's got the market there. But I was like, you need to try and be thinking outside the box and try and put yourself in the shoes of the people. Look at the situation they're in and go, what do they want right now? Because
yeah, precisely. If you look at what it's now is the majority of the UK working population are working from home now, and also their kids are not at school. So the kids are at home, a bit like you, Russell. The kids will be in some other room back there, and they might be banging off the walls, with being bored and not knowing to do it.
Yeah.
And you, as the parents and the people who are business people, have got to entertain them. So what better way of entertaining through magic and through entertainers? So, you've just got a way of delivering that entertainment into the households, don't you? I think it's a great opportunity for your ex-business partner, really, because there'll be a huge demand for children entertainment during these next few weeks or even months.
Yeah. Well, it's the only thing. And also the other thing that everyone's thinking about is, how can they keep the kids educated? If you did magic lessons or something, talked about the power of, Talk about all the benefits, like it increases kids. They've done a lot of research on it. I remember looking into it at the time, like it increases kids' confidence. It gives them a skill. It's a way of learning and getting them, but that's fun, that they enjoy. I don't know, something like that. But I suppose it's difficult, isn't it, for businesses? They've got to try and look at it. I mean, my gardener wouldn't even come and cut my lawn. And I said to him, bear in mind, he's self-employed. And he was like, I don't know what the rules are. This was about a week ago. I asked him. But he wouldn't even come and cut the lawn because he said, I was like, you won't see me. I'll be in the house. You can just literally just turn up, cut it. And he was like, no. So everyone's, but if it was me, as long as I could legally go and do it, he's not coming into contact with anyone. I'd be wanting to work as much as I could personally. I mean, I would have thought that would be a business where you could carry on. I know construction, for example, we've got a lot of big projects at the moment, big development projects, and that's one of the areas the government haven't stopped right now. So the construction industry can carry on. You've got to have your 2 meter distance, and it has slowed the work down a bit on some of the sites where we're building. But that is something that the building companies and etc. are able to carry on with. But I suppose it very much depends on the business. But you've got to really, I would say, you'd be looking at what do people, and this is the same as what you do normally. It's just now it's highly different to normal times. It's like, what do people want?
Absolutely. So you got to look at each individual's business and say, how can I deliver it? How can I continue in business and draw an income? Because I mean, it's all well and good for week one, week 1, week 2. If this does carry on, people are either going to have to adapt and change, or they're going to unfortunately fall off the cliff.
Yeah. And it's interesting on areas like that. I think it's very much a case of, like I say, just doing market research. What are other people doing? Are there other businesses in your industry that are still continuing to go? So, I'll give you an example. There's a restaurant down by us called Jung's. It's a little family-run restaurant. All the other restaurants are closed on the block, apart from Jung's, because they're also kind of like a bakery type thing as well. They've closed the restaurant completely. They've put a market stall type thing out at the front, and they're selling bread and quiches and pie. And because it's so easy to get there, like I went to Sainsbury's. I haven't been out this week. I've been obviously staying at home, but I went to Sainsbury's yesterday. And it was have you been to a supermarket recently?
Dude. I haven't, but my wife went this morning and she said it was a collection just to collect an order, and it took us like half an hour just to collect an order.
Yeah, well, literally, right. So I went along and they had like tape on the floor with 2 meters apart, all queuing outside the shop. You can't just go in the shop; you got to queue to go in the shop, right? So you got all these tapes. You're standing in your little row, and they're working on a 1 person in, 1 person out basis. There's more than 1 person in the store, but I don't know how many are in there. But it's very, very quiet in the store. And so let's say they say we're going to let 50 people in at a time.
Yeah.
And then they'll stop, and then when 1 person comes out, they let the next person go in, and it's literally you're just standing there. It's like it feels like you're in some sort of horror movie or something. It's like it's insane. It's crazy times. But what Jung's have done is they've managed to keep open, and and they're busy because everyone's going to Sainsbury's is such a hassle. If you just want eggs, bread, and I went today and I just bought some eggs, bread, and a quiche, and it was like, but they've managed to think outside the box. What do people want? How can we stay open? We can turn from a restaurant into like a bakery.
Yeah,
they make all their own stuff, and they've managed to use that, and they've kept open. So I think there are opportunities there. And in many cases, I think there are big opportunities. Like for us, we've been wanting to do online stuff for ages, but I think it's one of those things where when you prioritize stuff, we'd never have done it.
Yeah. So it's forced your hand in a way, but it's forced your hand in a good, positive way. Really.
Yeah.
It's enabled. It made you do something which you were going to do sometime in the future when you had time to do it, and now
which would have been never.
Yeah.
You know that it's the same as training, doing extra training and stuff with the staff. I mean, we're talking right now about all the different things that we can do with our team. So, we can train them on this. We can get them to. We can put together these manuals that we want to do. All this stuff that is really important, but it's not urgent.
Yes.
And sometimes you need to make time for the stuff that's important but not urgent. And it's difficult to do that. You'll know from when you've done business coaching. I imagine that you're banging on at people about doing the important, not urgent stuff.
Absolutely, yeah.
Certainly us. I love to do because I like to keep myself busy all the time. I end up doing the urgent stuff, not that, and the not urgent stuff goes to back. But this is a great opportunity for any business owners out there to reevaluate, look at where they're at, look at where they can cut costs. That's something that we're doing at the moment. Okay, where can we cut costs? What are our monthly outgoings? You've got time to sit down and sort of look at your business through different eyes.
Yeah.
What do our customers want right now? How can we facilitate that? How can we adapt? A lot of big businesses find it very, very difficult to adapt. And I think that even when you grow, it's important that you maintain that ability to adapt, to move, and it gives you such an advantage over a lot of the bigger companies. Do you notice that big companies tend to be really slow?
Yes, that's absolutely right. Yeah, these have got too much legislation behind them, too many thinking, not anybody able to think and change things straight away.
A big board of directors. I mean, if we'd have been slow with our online courses, no, the crash course has always worked. What should we do? Let's put it to the board of directors. Let's think about it in our monthly meeting next week. It's great to have that structure, but I do think you need to stay fluid and adaptable. And I think the businesses that are going to stay fluid and stay adaptable and change and flow with the times, they're the ones that are going to survive this crisis.
Absolutely. I think it's a great book. I think it's called Who Stole the Cheese? And that describes that thing perfectly, that you keep on going to the same place because you know the cheese is always going to be there. And then one day when the cheese isn't there, you realize that somebody put the cheese somewhere else, but you just forgot to go looking.
Who moved my cheese or something?
I think it's who stole my cheese or who moved my cheese. One of the two. It's a very famous book. It's a very, very good book, very simple book. But it's precisely that, being able to adapt and not just become stagnant and going to the same place and expecting the cheese to be there. You need to keep on looking for other places where the cheese is.
Interesting. I've never read that book. I've always seen it. There you go. There it is. Just come up. Who moved my cheese? Yeah. I've always seen it on the list. When you go through Audible, I always just think it looks stupid.
No, it's a great book. Really good. Very simple. Good book? Simple. It's a quick read. It's a very quick read, but yeah, very, very good.
I'll check it out. Check it out. Who moved my? Is it 32 pages?
Oh, it's got to be more than that. It's quite short, but it's more than 32.
It says there pages. Is it like 32?
Oh, right. Yeah.
So it's very, very short.
Yeah, Hemmed and Haw. That's it. But yeah, very, very good book. But it's that for that exact message of always being flexible enough to change and be able to look at your business. And so, I mean, I was speaking to one of the Academy members who's a publican yesterday, funny enough, and she's obviously had to close her doors and doesn't know what to do, doesn't know how she's going to make the next mortgage payment, etc. And I said, well, what are you sitting on there? What have you got any stock? And she said, yeah, well, I've got lots of alcohol, but I just can't sell it to the general public. And I said, well, does it mean that the general public can't come into you? And she said, yes. I said, well, as a licensee, do you have the ability to go and sell to them? And she said, yes. I said, why don't you, because she has about £3,000 worth of stock in the building, offer a delivery service, sell that alcohol and deliver it to people's doors. People can't get out and about. People are doing a lot of things. People are drinking a lot, unfortunately, in these times. So she's thinking about doing that. And it's just sometimes you're too close to the fire to really realize how to maneuver yourself around it. You have to step back, step away, and think clearly.
What do people want? How can I adapt? How can I carry on providing the need? How can I use my stock? I mean, Does she do? She might be this. Do they do food? Might be they can do takeaway, delivery.
Yeah,
Whatever. A lot
precisely.
of people are using takeaway delivery, which is obviously still on at the moment.
Like Jongs or whatever it is, you do need to sort of think about what you can do and how can you bring money. And the other thing is go out to your public, to your as a publican, people want their pubs to still be around when it comes out a few months' time. And if you communicate with your audience and tell them that it is going to be rough times, and if you want to support your local pub, then help us out by donating or buying stuff from us, continually buying stuff from us, and
Buying the
support us
alcohol
through
from us. Have a little
supporting us through this time, and that's called communication. So communicating with your customer base, with your clients, asking them, don't just assume what they want, but ask them what they want and how you can adapt to meet their needs.
No, yeah, makes sense. So have you got any other advice for anyone who's got a business that's trying to think, how can I survive? I mean, obviously, I would highly recommend you going and checking out the loans from the bank. We're with Santander. They've been awful. They've just been awful to deal with. I rang the Santander corporate bank line today, and they've literally just turned their phones off. Right, so they've changed the recording. So you go through. It just says due to the coronavirus, we've been turned off our phones for the time being. Please email on blah. Bang, that's it. And obviously we've emailed in, haven't been able to get through to anyone. That's for corporate banking. I've tried business banking. We spoke to someone about 10 days, 8 days ago, something like that. And they said they would call us back the next day. Still haven't heard back. Obviously can't get through. We managed to get through on business banking again today after being on hold for about 2 hours. And they said they would call us tomorrow. So we'll see about that. But I would highly recommend just be persistent. If you've got a business and you want to get a loan to cover some of the costs that you've got. I mean, the government have said they're going to give you, I believe it's interest free for 12 months. So if you can get a loan, that would be great. Look at your staff, who you can furlough, who you can, obviously, if you don't need them at all, rather than making them redundant, it makes sense to be able to do that. So again, that's something that we're looking into, because, we want to keep all our staff on, of course, because it's a hard time to make someone redundant. It would be very harsh to have to do that. So I think it's really good. I think the government have been good to businesses, actually, considering.
They've been very good. I mean, obviously, they've put a lot of measures out there. It can be confusing, and it can be you don't actually know what hoops you have to go through and so forth. But some are big hoops and some are not so big hoops. But it really is, once again, reaching out and actually making those phone calls, being persistent, as you said, till you get the answers that you need to survive. Yeah. But one thing Boris Johnson did say is look after your employees and we'll look after you. And that's clearly what he's doing. So as you said, to furlough somebody rather than to make them redundant and being able to meet their wage bills for the few months coming, then when we come out the other side, you'll have those long-standing loyal employees to help you out.
Yeah. It's a good time. It's a time where we should be supporting one another. Some businesses supporting other businesses. Keep in touch with your friends and see if there's any way you can help them out. But also, you employees, it's a time to stick together, not to scrap people off.
Absolutely.
If you can, I think so. Brilliant. Well, Tony, thanks ever so much for joining. It's been a slightly different format and everything this week. Obviously, this is the first one I've done over Zoom. So, normally I like to film these in person, but I think it's worked quite well. I've quite enjoyed doing it. So good. If you've enjoyed the video, if you enjoyed the tips, or if you've got anything you want to ask us, please do comment below. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll be bringing these podcasts to you every single week, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks so much, guys. See you soon.